Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. As a tradition, let's start from the military map reviews. Well, what can I say in general? Russia tries to get initiative back, especially in Kupiansk direction. For the last 24 hours they gained some of the ground there. Yes, the terrain here is quite difficult, but it is happening not far away from Kalinova on the way to Kupiansk actually. So what's the idea for Russia is to use this bridgehead to expand it over here to this road for the possible further attack on Kupiansk direction, and they also moved before from Sinkiivka. However, here Ukraine repelled them before. You may say that there is the river, it divides the city into two of the parts, so for Russia it's crucial to keep those two vectors on both sides of the river. And if we check out the Deep State military map update, they also confirmed that Russia moved ahead towards Kindrashivka. It's the small village, but it is connected with the other one and with this important road. And as I told you before, Ukraine performed several of the counter-strikes in this area, trying to hold the Russians and even pushed them away from this direction. But Russia still wants to assault, and it is happening in the Kharkiv region, the region which Russia hasn't included in their constitution. But Russia aims not just to four of those regions of Ukraine and Crimea. They want to take more ground, as much as possible, and Russia only should be stopped, otherwise they will continue. No any ceasefire is interested for Russia, as you see. Let's go for a while into Belgorod region. Here Ukraine uses aviation all the way. Let's check out, for example, one of those videos. Definitely here you may see some of the Russian hub, and it was hit by the aviation gliding bomb. This is the result of the strike. The building is absolutely no more, and Ukraine is actively, massively using aviation. Way more than before. However, I don't see F-16s on the front lines so far. They're working behind the front lines, securing Ukrainian skies from the Russian Shahid drones and cruise missiles and other missiles. But you know, for the first time, Russia used just a couple of the missiles to hit Ukrainian facilities like civilian infrastructure. Usually they use Shahid drones or Russian Giran 2 drones, which are identical to Shahid. Alright, back to the military map. This is the Deep State military map source, and they confirmed that definitely Ukraine is successful in the northern part, not far away from Pokrovsk. But here in the south, Russia wants to move ahead, and they're taking more ground. Yes, recently Ukraine counterattacked the positions in Avdiivka and was successful. Like, for example, it was the last week and it is right now, but you can see that Russians went to Ruzzia, small village, with their kind of abrupt and fast attacks. So at first they created some sort of the small bridgehead, and now they try to expand it. Well, for Ukraine it's the awesome time to strike the Russian soldiers here, because they have just limited supplies. And you may say, oh Dennis, Ukraine should send the reinforcements to encircle them in this village, but the problem here that Russia also has FPV drones, they have artillery, so all of the movement on the way to this village will be well spotted before by surveillance drones, and Russia will use the same tactics as Ukrainian army uses against the Russian one. So in this case, Ukrainian army will have losses in attempt to encircle small group of the Russian soldiers in a small village. So the only profitable way for Ukraine is to use artillery systems and FPV to cancel the Russian soldiers who were deployed in this village. Well, we'll see how it goes. If Russians are successful, definitely here creating one more bridgehead. The problem for Russians that this bridgehead in this village is quite isolated from everything. And to advance further, there are some of the rivers, obstacles, and the terrain here, it's flat, but after all it's not that easy. What else Russia has? Well, this attack over here in Pantelemonivka, let's move back for a couple of days, and they started the attack towards this village, towards this road, also because they're not really that successful in Toretsk. Actually, they lost the initiative in Toretsk. They sent some of the new reinforcements, but for now without profit for them. This is the Toretsk direction again, and as you may see, Russia is losing the most part of their vehicles on the way to Toretsk. So not in the Toretsk, but on the way. They were spotted well before and hit by the FPV drones. I would like to show you those kind of the videos. The Ukrainian army is using those drones, artillery and everything, because I have tons of them, but I cannot share those with you over here on YouTube because of the regulations on this platform. However, I found some of the alternate. It has rumble, it has low censorship. I understand that crazy people sometimes use rumble. That's why normal people wouldn't find it quite interesting, but anyways, I place the videos videos from the front lines. Like yesterday I posted this video, so kind of the juicy real images. As for monetization on Rumble, even though it was monetized, but I earn almost nothing here. Like we may check for the several months that I'm here, I earned $88. Awesome! That's why, guys, I rely on your support on Patreon, and you keep me motivated to film more and more content for you on different platforms. Thank you so much for it, you are just awesome. Well, nevertheless, here I'll try to show you something. It was one more big Russian attack near Novocherivate village, that's the name of the village in Donetsk Oblast. Russia sent 3 of the vehicles, usually nowadays they do not send more. 3 is the magic number for Russians. And what happened? They hit the local mine, and we have the video with illustration about it. So there is the Russian vehicle, it was kaputted on the way. And later on it was finished by Ukrainian FPV, and the rest of the vehicles decided to go back. Kind of the smart decision. The smartest actually is not to go to Ukraine at all, but Russian soldiers are still evolving into that decision. And this is the area near Andriivka village. Those defense lines were built by Ukraine. As you might see, kind of the good trenches out there, but Russians now took them, and Ukraine has to use artillery drones to kick Russians out from previously Ukrainian-made positions. The situation for the Russian army in the Kursk region is not going so well as they say. Ukraine was even capable to imprison some of the Russian soldiers during the Russian attack mission. So hopefully very soon they will be exchanged for Ukrainian ones, and definitely they say that Russia sends everyone for attack. Attack. They don't care about the losses, they don't care about supplies. What happened to the best Russian tank out there? Come on, Russia, this is your T-90 tank. And it was stopped initially by this razor wire. It just stuck in the caterpillars in the tracks, so tank continued the movement for quite a while, but later on the moving parts were just jammed by this razor wire and it had to stop. Immediately after that, the drones of the Ukrainian army finished the job. Crew had no chances. They tried to leave the vehicle, but it was too late. The drones of the Ukrainian army arrived at the proper place at the proper time. This is the same tank from the other perspective before it was hit by the drones, and here you can see the razor wire from 2 of the sides, so tank just stuck there. The Russian attack on Sumy region is, as you may see, also not going according to plan. The Russian famously known Bukhanka, one more, is no-go. You can see the shrapnel hit the vehicle from the sides. It was actually a drone strike. As the guy who is filming says, you can see the electronic warfare of the Russian army, which didn't help at all, added some of the weight to construction, and the trailer behind full of munition was kaputted as well. There on the background you may see some of the Dragon Ts. If it is a Sumy region of Ukraine, it means that Ukraine installed those. Why do I think it's Sumy? Because under the video there was the information that it is from Sumy region of Ukraine. Again, one more region which Russia didn't put in their constitution, but they attack over there. Some of the experts say that Russia is accumulating their forces in Bryansk region and also in Kursk to attack Sumy region and Chernihiv region of Ukraine. They want to get as much ground as possible to later on exchange this territory for control over the Kherson region and Zaporizhia. That's what some of the experts say. I think that Russia just wants to attack, that's it, they don't care where to attack, here or here. They're just now unable to be really successful as they were before in front lines, but they try to do it. Well, I do not exclude even that variant, especially as we know that Russians already entered Sumy region, so here you can see gray area expansion in many of the directions. Russia is in Sumy. They're trying to take more ground from Ukraine. As they've started, for example, 1 year ago in Kharkiv region, they attacked from Belgorod region over here. They were successful at first during the first 2 days, but later on the Ukrainian army was capable to stop the Russian attacks and repelled Russians even from the part of Vovchansk. Well, we'll see how it goes. I expect that Russia will be forced actually to announce a new massive mobilization to their army, because now clearly it is understandable that they're running out of the volunteers. There were reports officially from the Russians themselves that Russia forcibly mobilizes many of the men Forcefully mobilizes, yes, but they take people who are poor, insecure, alcoholics and hobos. They basically kidnap them and send to the front lines, and later on from the frontal images relatives are able to identify particular persons who were actually kidnapped by Russian officials. It is crazy. Here we have the video filmed by Russians. You may see that the weather conditions, yeah, it's the springtime, so the weather is always messy and dirty out there, nasty weather conditions, and they continue to use civilian transport for their military missions, as you can see shown in this video. What do they take there? Diesel fuel? They usually cut the aft hood and part of the vehicles completely, and yeah, that's how they move around. They confiscate those vehicles from Ukrainian locals and from their own locals if it is happening at the territory of Russia. Yeah, who cares about the drone protection? Just open and cut everything. At least the shock wave will not harm you that much if you are inside in a close environment. And let's go to the other news. Probably you already know about the new mineral deal proposal from Donald Trump, which you may call an economy occupation of Ukraine, and Zelensky said that they will not sign that kind of the deal. And let's listen to Donald Trump and his response on that.
Zelensky, by the way, I see he's trying to back out of the rare earth deal, and if he does that, he's got some problems, big problems. We made a deal on rare earth, and now he's saying, well, you know, I want to renegotiate the deal. He wants to be a member of NATO. Well, he was never going to be a member of NATO. He understands that. So if he's looking to renegotiate the deal, he's got big problems.
And who is really renegotiating the deal here? It is clearly a Donald Trump, because before the deal was totally different. Now America comes out with a new crazy proposal, which has nothing in common compared to the previous one, which Zelensky intended to sign in Oval Office. Remember that cringy meeting. So basically Donald Trump is pushing Ukraine to become a United States colony. He wants to occupy Ukraine without providing any sort of the security guarantees for Ukrainians. And 100% no one would sign that deal from the Ukrainian government, Zelensky or anyone else. It's no-go scenario for Ukraine. Well, it seems like Trump knows that, and he wants just to accuse Ukraine for something bad, like Ukraine is not going to sign the deal with us. It was a perfect deal, you know. So we're not going to provide any sort of the military assistance for Ukraine. Ukraine is bad, Russia is good, Ukraine is guilty for ceasefire to not happening. That's, I think, the real strategy of Donald Trump to accuse Ukraine. Yeah, he said something against Putin also, like if Putin breaks negotiation, I will apply tariffs, he says, tariffs on the Russian oil, which some experts and media say are the secondary sanctions. So if Russia sells, for example, their oil to China, China cannot trade with the United States of America, but I think it will not work like that. United States economy is very dependent on Chinese one. And how United States with this incompetent administration will implement those huge sanctions, it's a great and systematic work which should be applied, and under this administration, which is looking for quick solutions, I don't think that it is really possible. So that's why Donald Trump is looking to blame someone. Blame. That's his goal. He never accepts defeat. He never accepts that he was wrong himself. Because clearly he has a personality disorder, and moreover, I think that he is even a psychopath. But it's my own opinion. I'm not a doctor here. But sometimes I definitely feel as a doctor, because the politics, especially in the United States, it is crazy, guys. It's beyond understanding. And you saw how Donald Trump mentioned NATO in his speech, so Russia today, they're already crazy about it. They say Trump rules out Ukraine joining NATO in exchange for rare earths. So Trump commented about this case, only signed the deal if included support for Ukraine NATO aspirations. So Russians are still afraid of the Ukrainian membership in NATO if they post those kind of the articles. And you know, definitely Donald Trump again mentioned NATO for Ukraine. It wasn't done like that before. So maybe he's pushing Russia a bit with that rhetorics. Well, we'll see. So far, he is mainly sugarcoating Russia, not even admitting that Russia is actually slowing down the negotiations. He said that if Russia will slow down negotiations, he might apply some of the oil tariffs, as he says, but in fact Russian officials and Putin himself show that they are not ready for any sort of the ceasefire. Everyone understands that except Donald Trump, because he lives in his own informational bubble. He is surrounded by Trump lovers who kiss his orange ass all day long. They're not critical about Donald Trump and they support every of his initiatives. And for this reason, guys, me and you, we know actually wider picture than Donald Trump has. Yeah, he has some of the intelligence services, but there were many of the cases before and recently that Donald Trump didn't believe to American intelligence. Well, you know, Mark Burns, who is a spiritual leader and very close to Donald Trump, arrived to Ukraine yesterday. He went to Irpin, Bucha, and he saw what Russians did to Ukraine. In his speech later on, he was really supportive to Ukraine, and hopefully he'll deliver this message to Donald Trump. At least some voices should reach White House, otherwise, guys, it's no-go scenario for Ukraine, so I'm really happy about those kind of the visits. And what do Russian officials say about the ceasefire and peace deal? Well, they only say that they want to continue negotiations. That's the policy of the Russian leadership. They want to extend the spirit of negotiations. At the same time, in parallel, they want to attack Ukraine more and more. That's their logic. Russia just cannot stop like that. It's easy to start the war, but it's very, very hard to stop it. Moreover, it is already understandable that Putin doesn't want to stop. He's quite comfortable in his new environment. He got rid of any sort of the opposition. He's free to do whatever he wants to do under the cover of this special military operation, which is de facto a war. And again, Russians continue to say about the cause of this war that it should be eliminated. They see it as the security guarantees for Russia to eliminate NATO in neighboring Eastern European countries, to eliminate Ukrainian, as they say, Nazi regime, to demilitarize Ukraine, and for Russia to have full access to the international markets. And only that is how they might stop. So it is absolutely no-go scenario. We understand that Russia wants basically capitulation of Ukraine in those peace negotiations. And you know what? Donald Trump is looking to make the deal with Russia on rare earth minerals. We have the confirmation about it from Kirill Dmitriev, who also, by the way, took part in negotiations between American and Russian delegations. So I guess it was the main reason for them to meet, to discuss the future economic relations. So Donald Trump wants to have the access to the rare earth minerals of Russia, and Ukraine is just the obstacle on the way. Alright, breaking news, what we have: Putin calls up to 160,000 conscripts to serve in the military. It is not a breaking news, I would say, Whistlgrad, come on. It is happening every spring and every autumn. It's the usual conscript service of the Russian man, which is mainly mandatory. The Russian officials say that they do not send those conscripts to fight in Ukraine directly, but they were fighting actually with Ukraine on the territory of the Kursk Oblast and Belgorod. And also there were many of the conscripts, like hundreds, on board of Moskva flagship. So obviously it's the reinforcement of the Russian army, but it's not like very critical for Ukraine, because actually they will not be sent in direct fights against the Ukrainian army, but they will be used for logistics and other areas, also for the border control, by the way. Alright, the world unites against Donald Trump. Countries like South Korea, China and Japan will come out with a common solution of how to resist the tariffs applied by the United States on Asian countries. China and Japan are concerned about the behavior of the United States of America. Wow, the new realities are interesting. By the way, Europe is also concerned about those tariffs, and they're looking for a solution even to ban almost all of the American products if the United States would decide to implement huge tariffs on Europe. It's getting more crazy every day, and I see how United States becomes isolated also more and more. Interesting new point from Donald Trump. He says that at certain point Dodge will end. It is something new. But agency heads will likely continue its work. Yeah. It's after all a clear sign that there is conflict inside between Elon Musk and Donald Trump's other team. There were some of the whiskey leaks to the internet that JD Vance is not okay with Elon Musk, as well as Ruzzia and Waltz. I guess Donald Trump himself is not that comfortable with Elon any longer, because Elon becomes a very toxic person. Elon's reputation is completely destroyed, and he destroyed it himself because he behaves like a man-child, and there should be just one man-child in the White House, and it is Donald Trump. And there were many of the scandals connected to the Dodge itself, fake reports about their efficiency and how they hire unprofessional youngsters to do the job which they cannot do actually. The access to the secret information and so on. So yeah, Dodge is no longer out there in priorities of Donald Trump, and it will be just gone in the nearby future. We'll all see it, the downfall of Elon Musk. And yeah. Now the sad news about American soldiers who were found dead in Lithuania. They accidentally went to the swamp on their huge vehicle and basically drowned there. Very terrible case, my friends. So rest in peace to those American soldiers who took part in the common drills with NATO allies. Still, one soldier is missing somehow, maybe also in that particular swamp. The rescue operation was organized by Lithuanians as well as by Americans. I would say that it is even kind of extraordinary that they found this vehicle in the swamp. A chance to find something in the swamp, well, it's close to zero. Sometimes local enthusiasts are looking for the vehicles from the Second World War, and they also find the vehicles in those swamps even now. In northern Ukraine, part of Russia, Belarus, Baltic countries, there are lots of the swamps, which by the way could play the tactics defense role during the war. Oh, Marine Le Pen was prosecuted and court found her guilty. And the main competitor for Emmanuel Macron in next elections, I guess. Can Macron be elected once again? I need to look for it, definitely. So at first she obtained like 4 years in prison, but those were exchanged for carrying of the bracelet with transmitter for 2 years somehow. But everything might change very fast for her, because if court finds her guilty once again, like any sort of the wrongdoing, she'll have her 4 years real in prison. And she also lost the right to be elected official for the next 5 years. So she misses the next presidential elections in France. Do I support that? Well, I don't like Marine Le Pen, and she repeated lots of the pro-Russian narratives, and in general she's cringy and creepy, so I like Macron more, even though he's not ideal politician, far to be ideal actually, I understand that, but my opinion that Macron is better than Le Pen in supporting Ukraine. I can only say from the Ukrainian perspective. France may have its own different opinion, French people I mean. But for me, yeah, I like that convicted felons are not there taking part in the next presidential elections, because you know who is a convicted felon and rules the biggest economy in the world. It shouldn't be like that. And you know, the top MAGA influencers, including the son of Donald Trump, they started to say about poor democracy of Europe, and J.D. Vance was right with his speech during the Munich conference, and that Europe turns into the total dictatorship. You may find it on Twitter. But actually Europe itself knows more based on experience, and in Marine Le Pen's case, it was the economy failed. It wasn't connected to politics at all, I would say. So yes, it's not the repression or something, so it's just the court which does its proper job, unlike in USA, right? And yes, Russian media is very sad about Le Pen's case. Oh, our Le Pen, poor Le Pen. And they also say that Donald Trump doesn't support that idea. It's a very big deal, he says. It reminds him of his own legal battles under the former administration. Well, it seems like we discussed the latest situation on the front lines, political news and everything connected to Ukraine. So maybe, yeah, see you tomorrow, my friends. And I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.